I'm so happy today to have the makers of the Grotto podcast.
Yeah.
I'm saying the name right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming so much today. I'm so excited to talk about so many different things.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Dave
having
and
us.
Julie, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. We're excited to be here. So I love your setup. I know I was telling you that a little earlier, but I just love it so much. And then this cool like Portland
Yeah,
water.
yeah. Shout out to Portland Water. I got the sponsorship going, and I don't know if there's any legends or whatever on the Portland carpet, but that's what that is. Maybe
Okay.
maybe there's ghosts of the Portland carpet. I don't know. But
Oh,
everyone
okay.
loves the can. I love the can. It's great. Um, yeah, thanks you guys for doing this. Tell people really quick, like a little bit just about the podcast, and then also how you got started doing it and all that stuff.
Yeah, so Grim Grotto is kind of a podcast just about anything that people would quantify as like an oddity, paranormal, aliens are in it. I know that aliens kind of have their own category with UFOs and whatnot, but we just kind of group it in. And then anything that's strange. So anything you might hear about that just might creep people out or people don't know much about or anything of that nature, that's all encompassed and a bunch of like lore from my culture too, just because I love talking about it, especially when I reawaken some people because they go, oh wow, that's some deep lore that I haven't heard about in a long time.
Mm.
So that's why it makes me excited. And then Dave and I got started with it when it all started with Zach Bagans.
Okay, what is
Yeah.
that? What I don't even know.
He's from Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
So one of his first questions when we first met, I don't know why, but he was just asked me, he said, do you watch Ghost Adventures? And I said, yeah. And then we had a back and forth conversation about that. And he just said, I love when he goes portals and this and
Yeah.
that. And even Giorgio from Ancient
Right.
Aliens when he's like this.
Aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
aliens.
His whole thing. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so because of that, I was just like, you know what? I think Dave's a pretty cool guy. I'll tell him.
Thank
And
you.
I was just like, I see spirits. And then he's like, wait, what? So then I went down this whole rabbit hole of a bunch of stories and stuff. And then he came up with the idea, why not start a podcast? Why not have a podcast where you're telling me a story from whatever, and then we'll go from there because I'm sure other people would like to know your story too. And at first, we were really shy. So if you do go to Grim Grotto, you'll see that the first episodes are now only on our Patreon,
Okay.
just to kind of have more of the crisp episodes be
Sure.
displayed
Yeah.
instead of people finding something where we're like, what are we doing?
Well, that's
I,
cool. Yeah, support the Patreon for sure. And has it always been something you were just interested in, both of you, like
oh yeah.
Yeah.
from a young age?
Yeah. So my Lulu in the Philippines, he's to translate in best terms here, he is a like a shaman.
Okay.
Not a witch doctor. We have witch doctors there, but that's not what he is. So he was just kind of like that medicine doctor who would help people, and he anytime there was like a drought or something or crops weren't being fruition that much, they would go to the mountain where my Lulu was at, and they would ask him to kind of like perform something to help that. And then, so with that, I am the first like born grandchild from that bloodline. So it's tradition that most of the time I get like the sight and the seer stuff, which
Wow.
happened. So everybody's happy. We're all good with
That's
that.
cool.
So yeah.
And that's just like a cultural thing that in the Philippines is it? Yeah.
Yeah, they're very heavy in cultural traditions. And so with that, anything that they believe. It's not, oh, this could be a cryptid or this or that. It's, oh, this is real.
Hmm.
So,
That's really cool.
yeah.
And
And what about you boys?
I've always been interested in the paranormal from a young age, horror movies, Stephen King. And then when I was in college, I had a chance to work on this project where I was following around paranormal investigators. I was
Oh,
doing journalism work for the school radio station. So I made a few podcasts where I was spending time with these ghost hunters and stuff. And then went away for a while, but I had this idea in the back of my mind. I've always wanted to have a podcast. So then we started talking. The conversations were wild. We would talk about the craziest stuff for hours on end. And then one day I was like, let's just record these conversations because we're already talking about this stuff. So
hmm.
we sat down with an iPad and just hit record and started doing it. And that's how we started.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Now I'm curious, yeah, about the. Did you find? Was there anything cool that happened on the radio investigation stuff?
A couple things. There was
Babe,
this.
you sound so scared.
Yeah, it's funny when you listen to it. I have the original recording, and there's a part where a psychic is telling me that a spirit will probably follow me home, and I'm like, oh, really? Like, all shaky. And I swear, like, bizarre stuff started happening in my life. Like, I saw shadows at the corner of my eye and couldn't sleep at night and stuff like that. But I wonder if that's just because somebody told me that that would
It's your
happen.
paranoia or something. Yeah.
And then there was a couple of EVP recordings that I got where I was interviewing somebody and you could hear somebody like singing in the background and there was nobody on the floor with us.
That's
So
pretty scary. Yeah.
yeah, I was pretty freaked out listening to it.
Okay.
Well, speaking of EVPs, we were at McMiniman's Grand Lodge, right? That one.
Yeah.
And there's this room that I feel has this dark man spirit. There's a little girl there, and then there's like some weird darker one. But we were sitting in the room, and I was like, oh, I could feel it here if it could just say something. And then the voice came in and said, yes. And I was like, yay.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you have like, what would you call it? Some kind of a spiritual ability?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't like going by the term psychic. I don't know why. It just never resonated with me, and I think it's
Yeah.
a cultural thing. But if I had to put a label on it, I guess medium would
Okay.
be the correct
Sure. Yeah.
terminology for it because I can either see, hear, feel, get visions, or anything of that nature. But it's not like a conversation that you and I are having right now. So let's say, I don't know, maybe it was your dad or something, and you go, oh, I want you to tell him this. And I would say, no, he's just in the room. I can't particularly like have that conversation, you know? It's like that. So
That's really cool. Yeah. Let me see here. I wanted to get into just starting with the Portland stuff. Anything that's like worth mentioning here. The only stuff I wrote down, I mentioned you a second ago. The Benson Hotel is kind of famous. I don't know how real it is. I don't know. I like to believe that it's haunted because it just seems like it would be. It's an old hotel,
right.
but they have a whole thing where you can like rent a haunted room, I think, and all this
Oh,
stuff.
really? What did
And
that
they're
do?
like, it's only for the strongest people, and all this.
I think we
Um,
walked in there. Do you
We
remember that? We went,
did.
we
We
tried to
walked
go
in
behind the
there.
scenes, see if we could go up the elevator and you needed a key access.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And we were just in the lobby and I was like, I feel weird just being in here even though I don't have a reservation. Like I'm doing something wrong.
Right. Running around a hotel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we do want to try to do like an investigation there. One I had gone in there though, there really wasn't anything that I felt
You can really
initially.
feel it. Yeah.
Right. But for downtown Portland, is this downtown? I'm apologize.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
had just like moved
Anywhere.
here.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sinister, PDX, Creamery and Coffee and Creamery. They
Mhm.
recently opened and we were there one night because I was hoping to do some classes there. And when we were talking, I just had this overwhelming feeling where I had to stand up and then I actually did like a walkthrough and this is really wild. So I wasn't a huge believer in portals for the longest time and anytime people would be like, oh, there's a portal, I would just kind of laugh and
like
be like,
every
what
episode
is
of
a
Ghost
portal?
Adventures.
Like the video game? No.
Yeah.
Right. And when we were going through there was two portals and I was like, that's what a portal looks like.
Hmm.
And so it kind of leads to this whole theory of which uh great researcher was it? I can't think of, but he thought that there was like black holes that explained paranormal happenings.
Sure. Yeah.
But it really did look interesting. And so there was one right by the front door, and then there was one by a cubby. And then without knowing kind of what happened in that building or anything, I had stopped in one of the spots and they had a previous medium go in there and everything without my knowledge of what they said. And there was just really bad trauma that had happened there. Come to find out, there was deaths in the parking garage above them.
Oh yeah, it's right
Right
below the
above
parking
there,
garage.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Wow. Yeah. And what is that? How would you like describe that to people if you could relay what that looks like?
Oh, the portal?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so excited when you told me there was a portal.
Because I remember I grew up in like Southern Oregon in the real woodsy areas, and I remember people talking about
Okay.
those like in the woods and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's supposed to
Just-
be a Bigfoot portal down there, I think.
Yeah,
Near Medford, right?
that
There you
type
go.
of
There's
stuff.
the Bigfoot.
Yeah. And I know people believe that too, that he or the whatever Bigfoot is comes in and out that way with like
yeah.
Yeah, with the vortex.
That is like a
yeah,
theory.
yeah stuff.
We have somebody who has met Bigfoot, and I was just like, why won't you tell us? I want to meet Bigfoot.
But is
But
that what is it like what you'd imagine? It's kind of like a
yeah, it's this.
wormhole looking thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like a wormhole. It's this circle that has a vibration to it.
Okay.
So, have you heard about like the plasmoids in the sky?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so there's been reports of plasmoids, and they're just your normal energy of a star that fluctuates and whatnot. And that's kind of what it looks like, but on a bigger scale, darker,
Hmm.
and more vibrant.
Very cool. Yeah, and is there any other Portland stuff? We were talking earlier about obviously the peculiarium. I don't even know if I'm
It's a
saying that
mouthful.
Yeah,
right.
you're
Yeah.
saying it right.
I sort of know the guy Mike, but they're great. That's just a great kind of fun place with all this kind of paranormal stuff to go to.
Yeah,
It's a museum technically, but everyone should visit there. What was the other new one we were just talking about? The
the skeleton key.
Skeleton Key. Yeah.
Yeah, so the skeleton key does have a few haunted objects. We had gone there a few times because we have a spooky support Sunday that we do.
Okay. Cool.
And on that, we go to places that we resonate with and then take a bunch of pictures, meet the owners, and then post it on Sunday. And with that, while we were at the skeleton key the first time where we went by ourselves, there was something
All right.
that I was feeling within the first room to they're kind of have this more like circus room. Um, didn't think anything of it. Went the second time to take the photos. Again, felt kind of the same thing. And then we went a third time because they had a nighttime poetry. And during the nighttime poetry, I don't know if it's just because it was later in the day and things kind of settled down a bit, but it really seemed like the energy was amped up. It had lots of vibrations and items were definitely going to happen, you know? So while we were there at the end, they actually had an SLS camera and they brought it out. Dave got to hold it
Yes, I
and
did.
yeah, and you could see the stick figure, which I can send you photos of that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
put them up if you send me that. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and
And
it,
what is that? Is that like a FLIR heat camera or what is that?
It
it's
detects
it
like
detects.
I don't know how to describe like human type figures or things like that. So
Okay.
if you put the camera on a person, it'll fill it in like a stick figure kind of looking thing.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, a stick figure.
Okay.
But then if there's a spirit there, you might see a stick figure pop up and you think
Hmm.
that might be a spirit.
So it
Mm.
kind of detects human shape. Is
Yeah,
that
I think
humanoids.
so,
There
okay?
you
yeah.
go.
Okay.
Human
Yeah,
Gotcha.
energy. I don't really quite know how it works.
Hmm.
yeah. But Ghost Adventures uses it a
A
lot.
lot,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I
um,
love to get one of those and just go to random places.
I looked them up online. They were expensive. I was gonna buy you one as a gift.
That
But
sounds cool. I've never heard of them. Yeah.
yeah, they're really neat. Etsy has a bunch of them. There's one of the small shops that make them. I'm sure there's somewhere in Portland too, because at the Ghost Conference, on Seaside, is it?
Yeah, Seaside
They
They
do it every year.
Yeah, they do it
Okay.
every year.
in March.
Yeah, in March. And they have some people who make some ghost hunting devices, so that's
That's
pretty neat.
awesome. I gotta go to that. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, we actually really like that. There's this comedian, I'm not sure if he has any psychic abilities or anything like that. Uh, but if you listen to his stories, he tells ghost tales that are pretty funny because one was about if you were going to the bathroom and then you just passed away there, that now that bathroom's haunted
Mhm.
or something. I was
Yeah,
like, is
that's
he
right. Like,
saying
what
what
are
I
they
think he's
talking about?
saying? It's just
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know. I know there's a couple conferences around here around different topics, but that's cool. I didn't know they did that in Seaside. Is that what you said?
yeah,
Yeah.
Seaside.
And then in terms of other Portland stuff, we love going to some of the McMinimus properties.
Yeah.
The Grand Lodge is probably one of our favorite places to go to, and every time we've been there, we've picked up on different paranormal things. There was one time when we were recording a video from the outside,
Oh
and
yeah.
we saw this, like as she was recording it, she was just kind of doing a pan because we were making a video just for something. And as she panned over this bay window, there was a flash of a black figure standing in the window that we both saw as she was recording it. And then so we stopped it, we rewatched it a couple times, slowed it down, and you can clearly see like a
Really?
human shape just come into the window and then like flash away. It was
Yeah.
Wow.
pretty like in terms of paranormal stuff that we've captured, that
That's
was the
pretty cool.
bizarre
Yeah.
thing that we've done.
Mm.
And then we ran up and you were like, "Oh, something's here," and then it went away.
Yeah. Uh,
And which one? Remind me again. Is that the one in the gorge?
It's Forest Grove.
Forest Grove. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But Edgefield is out in the gorge, and we've been to that one
Yeah.
quite a bit. That one,
Yeah, I've been to shows out there and stuff, and I know that the whatever the mansion or whatever, they're all their properties are super old and
Mm,
yeah,
interesting, and I can see there being a lot of activity going on.
yeah.
yeah.
There's
We got
lots
to
of
do a
cats.
walkthrough tour around Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where you got to go into some of the rooms, and there was some pretty crazy stuff that she picked up on in there.
I ended up barfing.
Really?
Yeah, it was real
It
bad.
was that bad? Yeah.
Yeah. I've only done that twice, I think. From what I can remember, and both times was at Edgefield. So I
Okay.
don't know what's
Something
there.
something
Something's
went
not
down.
okay
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's all really cool. I was gonna mention I mentioned this to you guys a second ago. I'm sure if people know more about it than me, the whole Polybius controversy. I believe there was a documentary years ago made about it, but it's like a kind of mysterious arcade machine that I don't know. Put it in the comments. You guys probably know more than me. I think it had something to do with like time travel or something,
Okay.
and now it was just like a arcade that people were really looking for, and
Did
I
they
don't know.
fix
Is there
it?
any, huh?
Did they find it?
I don't remember. I should have done more research. I remember watching the documentary years ago, and because I for a time used to go to ground control like every day, and I was super
Oh
into
yeah.
arcades,
Okay.
and that's how I found out about it. But yeah, put stuff in the comments. Tell us what that is. Tell us about Polybius, guys. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else Portland or Oregon related? Obviously, I'll move on to, or I'll transition to Bigfoot, which is kind of a Northwest
Yeah.
thing.
There is the Dybbuk box.
Okay,
So
I've never heard
that
of that.
that started in Oregon.
It did.
It
Yeah.
in the port was it Beaverton to be honest?
Tiger,
Ti-
Lake Oswego. I think it was
Yeah,
Lake
oh Lake
Oswego. Yeah.
Oswego. There was this thrift shop or secondhand shop where this man had gotten a box and he made a whole backstory about it where he like wrote online, kind of like a creepypasta type deal. Um, but he put it on eBay and kind of said all these different things are happening. So he said that his shop worker, when she was in the basement, the lights flickered and then locked her out, the phones didn't work, etc., etc. He gave it to his mother, and his mother became ill and could no longer speak and wrote down hate gift. So then he gave that gift to his sister. His sister wouldn't take it, gave it to his brother. His brother's wife said that it smelled like cat urine, did all this different stuff, right? And so he
Is
put
and it's just like a decorative box or something,
yeah,
or
it's a wine cabinet.
okay,
Yep. What's wild is he put his actual sister's hair in it and did all these different things, right? As a joke or as a story. He did it for an effect to see if
like an experiment or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that sounds. I wouldn't do that. That's scary.
no, that's scary. I want to do that. But he sold it on eBay to a professor at a university.
Okay.
And that professor actually documented certain items that was occurring to him from that box, and he blamed it all on the box. And then, due to that, Zach Bagans came and picked it up, and now it's in his museum in
Okay.
Nevada. But it
Wow.
all started here in Oregon, and he created this sort of tulpa, uh, because of this whole story where people believed it so much that now this Dybbuk box is real. So Dybbuks were always real. They're part of like Jewish folklore, but
Hmm.
Oh, I
the
see. Okay.
Dybbuk box to contain the Dybbuk wasn't really a cult lore until this man in Oregon made it.
Okay.
Yeah, he came out and said that he fabricated parts of the story for effect, but people still reported having strange encounters when they acquired the box.
Hmm. To the point where they had a whole movie made for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a fictionalized thing or like a documentary or something?
fictionalized. So it's
Okay.
called The Possession, and it's about this little girl who gets the Dybbuk box.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds familiar. I might have seen the trailer or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good if you like horror movies.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that was yeah, that was a thing. You were just making me think think about I guess I'll ask this now and then I'll get into this other stuff, but I'm such a huge I've been talking for the past several weeks about The Exorcist, and I'm just
Yeah.
curious on your take, and also is that like a thing in Filipino culture? Is that like a practice that's
Um.
or possession at all? Is that like a thing that
Yeah, possession is.
okay.
Exorcisms, I personally haven't witnessed an exorcism. There at least. I'm trying to think.
Because like how do they what's the cultural way to deal with it there? Like if somebody's is it just like, oh, that's you're stuck with it kind of thing, or like,
Like this is your life.
or yeah, it's just like part of life or something. I don't know.
Um,
I just find that whole possession really fascinating. I don't know.
yeah, so it kind of depends on what island you're from. So all the islands, there's thousands of islands and they all have different dialects, different traditions, but in a way they all kind of have some of the same like similarities. So they all kind of have a version of the Manananggal and stuff like that. Uh, our version is from the island that my family's from is the Wak Wak. Uh, and so possessions, depending on where you're located, can be seen as different. So I know that a lot of the mainstream media is usually based off of Manila, just because it's a bigger, well known island, and most
Mm.
people migrate from Manila to here. Immigrate? How do you. Sorry, my vocabulary,
Migrates, yeah,
yeah,
whatever, yeah.
isn't the greatest. um, but they come here from Manila. So a lot of the Philippine culture in America is more Manila based with a few hints of the different islands. But my family, we are from like Leyte, so Merida, and it might be different there than it is for other people, but if a possession happens, you can go to the witch doctor. And I know that witch doctors are kind of taboo here, but witch doctors can be good or bad. It just kind of depends on how you present yourself to them. So if you're going to, they're like genies in a way.
Yeah, I always just picture it. I just kind of frame it as like Eastern medicine. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it's
perfect.
not like negative or positive. It's just like that's something that
Yeah,
they
and that's how you should
use.
look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because, especially when you're in an island that's really remote, you don't have Western medicine. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have the hospitals. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have this. Like, you have the village, like, clinics,
Mm-hmm.
and whether that's the witch doctor, the medicine doctor, what have you. But usually they go to them. They can go to the church, but you do that, the church requires a donation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it can be a little bit expensive. But if you go to a witch doctor, the donations are different. They're usually not monetary. They're more so, I want a chicken or a cow, anything of that nature. And then from there, they kind of go through that. And they do use the feathers and stuff
Hmm.
that you do see on TV. It is very similar to that, and with the chanting. So
Interesting. Yeah.
it is,
It's interesting to me.
it is
Yeah.
interesting because some of the things that you see there, especially when you're surrounded by the belief, it makes you wonder what's real and what's not real. Because when you're here, you are told, oh, that's not real, it's really suppressed. But then you go to other cultures where they believe it. It's kind of like The Skeleton Key, the movie. Have
Mm-hmm.
you seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where she comes in, for the viewers that were who haven't seen it. She comes in as this caretaker who doesn't believe in anything. By the end, she starts to believe it, and then they're able to grasp her. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it is really like I totally agree with what you're saying. It's just interesting how even like Western religions kind of stamped a lot of that out, but it's interesting that a lot of the other solutions actually like work and it's been effective for many years and stuff. And but a lot of the West is just like it's like
yeah,
nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but I'm always into it. Yeah, let's see. Let's get into the Bigfoot stuff, I guess, just because it's Northwest.
yeah,
I asked like so many questions to the Bigfoot guy Cliff when he was here, but I'm curious like your guys' just take on it in general. You said you'd met you you knew somebody who had an encounter
yeah.
or
They
something
had an
like that.
encounter,
Yeah.
and we had asked them where they saw it, and they wouldn't tell us just because they said that they want to stay lost, which I could kind of get,
Yeah, protected or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I'd say it's near Mount Hood,
I think so.
somewhere around there.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Here you are giving
I
away
I
the
feel like all
information.
the both the mountains are real popular. I know
Yeah.
St. Helens and then Mount Hood are both real
Mm-hmm.
popular
Yeah.
spots for.
Well, St. Helens has bat squash.
Really? I've never even heard of
Yeah.
that. It's like a bat
It's like
Sasquatch?
Sasquatch. Yeah, and it's ripped. It's really scary.
Really?
We had gone looking for it. We did like a little expedition. We were really looking for Bigfoot, but we said on the way,
Yeah. It
if
was
we
a
see
hike
bat
too.
squash. So it was, there was this big skeleton of a caribou. Is that what y'all have here?
It looked like a
Okay,
whale.
yeah, bro.
Yeah, it was really big. And it was
Like a
dropped.
moose or something like
Yeah,
that, or
moose,
yeah.
because it had the antlers. And it was dropped on a hill. And I was like, bat squash. Because what
Mm,
else would have been able
right,
to
carry
do
something
that?
that
So I have
heavy,
no
yeah.
idea how it would have got there.
And is the idea now? I'm just curious about it. Is it like humanoid on two legs type of
Yes.
thing? Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's ripped too. Like look up a picture of it.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
scary.
Yeah,
Six
I'll
pack.
put photos of it up. But
Like,
it's got wings, I'm guessing.
Oh
yeah, it
yeah.
has
Okay.
wings.
Okay.
It's pretty
That's really
scary.
cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, people at
That's Mount St. Helens.
Mount
Yeah.
St. Helens have reported seeing it, so
Okay.
that's really exciting.
That's a new one, yeah.
Yeah.
And generally, you guys are believers in Bigfoot.
Um,
For me, it's like, and I want to believe in all of it, but for me, it's like on the lower end of what I want to believe. You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
really want to believe in Bigfoot.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So-
pretty skeptical about
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Okay.
But after coming to Oregon and seeing the vast wilderness, I'm just
Mhm.
like, you know what? Maybe.
There's a lot out there that we don't know.
Yeah, especially with the ley lines by the Oregon Vortex, with all
Yeah,
of
that's
that
kind of near where I
connected.
grew up. Yeah, the vortex.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did? Have you been?
I mean, it's close to where I grew up, but
Okay. Have you been there?
I actually haven't. Like most of my
Oh.
family's been out there, but I was the youngest, so I didn't really get the the good stuff. But no, I've seen videos and stuff. It's an interesting place. It's still going. Yeah, they're still doing it down there. But I actually didn't realize it was on the ley lines. I was just reading, or I was just learning about those the other day, and
Yeah,
that like cross paths with some of those.
you're right. It's wild. What'd you learn about it?
Well, I just know that it. First of all, I didn't even know they existed, but I know that people line them up with all sorts of different phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
which could be something. I don't know. It's just an interesting part of the Earth that like could really support a lot of theories.
Yeah, they supposedly connect to the Bermuda Triangle.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so maybe that has. And I know we are always referencing Ghost Adventures, but they went on a bunch more adventures than we have. But they were on one of the ley lines at Gold Hill,
Okay.
and in the video, they do capture this big mass, and Dave and I joke that it's Bigfoot because they couldn't debunk it. They couldn't find what was over there. They didn't think it was like a spirit or anything of that nature, but it was big. So I'm like, it's Bigfoot. It's
Could
Bigfoot.
be. You just made me think. Yeah, maybe this is a good transition to. Because you mentioned the Bermuda Triangle. The next thing I had on was underwater stuff, and I'm like somebody asked me on here a couple episodes ago. I don't know. I've just heard this a lot. People are more fascinated with the underwater kind of theories than like space,
Yeah.
and I just think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Like people think there's whole cultures under the water, kind of like what's the movie Abyss? Kind of like the Abyss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. What do you guys think? Is there anything going on down there?
I mean, the ocean's huge.
Yeah.
There's got to be stuff down there that we haven't. But I love the theories of Loch Ness monster being able to travel through
Yeah.
portals.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and
Mhm.
because there have been sightings near Vermont, I think, in one of the lakes there that was similar to Loch Ness monster. So the theory is that the Loch Ness monster can travel between these different portals.
Yeah. So
So
like Colossal Claude,
Colossal Claude.
Champ.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna say that
Nessie.
like Champlain or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of, but yeah, I guess I probably remember hearing that. So the idea is they just go from lake to lake like that.
Mm-hmm.
Between dimensions. I mean, who
Between
knows?
dimensions.
Okay, because I thought you were talking about. I've also heard one of Loch Ness where it can actually just get out to the ocean from the loch, and that way it's like I guess
Mm.
like a saltwater and lake
Yeah,
water creature or whatever.
a hybrid.
But do you guys believe in any like? I guess what I'm
Yes.
saying is alien
Yes.
culture underwater.
Yes. Well, I'm okay. So when you go, oh, how do you feel about Bigfoot? I'm like, oh, I'm pretty skeptical. But when it comes to anything underwater, I'm
Mhm.
just like, yes. So I believe in Atlantis. I believe
Oh,
in
that's a good one.
mermaids. I don't believe in mermaids being Ariel, like the Little
Oh,
Mermaid.
sure.
I
For a
believe,
second, I was like, "What?" Okay.
yeah. But so I believe in all of that. And did you see over California? It was, I think maybe it wasn't January. It wasn't that cold out. Well, it was within this year. There were pilots on what their intercoms
Mm.
stating, is there supposed to be an aircraft heading my way? And there was multiple pilots from different airlines, and somebody had gotten the recordings of it or whatnot, but they all hear something coming from the ocean, speeding off and then going back in. So,
That might be, yeah. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking of. I know there's been a bunch of recent. I should have looked them up, but I believe there's maybe even video of stuff like you're talking about where things quickly go underwater. Is that kind of what you mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
sightings of craft or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And they all you can see them because it's like a big light out of nowhere, and the water gets so hot that it bubbles above them, and they'll
Yeah, this
take
does
up.
ring a bell now. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So I do believe in aliens being underwater, and that's probably the best place for them. They can do testing and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
without being disturbed because we can't go underwater the same way they can, I'm
True.
sure. Like reptilians, you know?
Yeah.
Reptilians are underground. Dave's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, no, it is. It's there's something else. Oh, I was gonna say, have you heard the whole new? What's blowing my mind recently is the whole new. I believe it's like a plasma technology that some people think like the Tic Tac UFOs and stuff are. Have you heard about that? Where they, it's
Oh,
basically like there is existing technology that will create illusions that look like some of these Tic Tac UFOs and stuff,
okay.
which is
Mm,
interesting, but it's also kind of like
But why?
it. It wouldn't really explain showing up on radar and stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
true.
not really.
Well,
It doesn't
speaking
explain everything.
Yeah, well, speaking of that though, going back to Portland, I was coming home one night and there was these dots. There were four dots that were in the sky
Mm-hmm.
flying away and I was like, "What is this?" And I wasn't over the airport. I It was just on the way home and I thought something really weird was going on because these lights were flying in unison.
Hmm.
And with that, when I got closer to going home, there were droids in the sky. The little
Drones.
Yeah, drones.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is going on? They were chasing the lights, and I'm like, what is happening? So that was over Portland. I tried to go to Reddit to see if anybody else saw it, and I couldn't find anything on it.
Hmm.
But so if
That
anybody
is
did
weird.
see
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Post in the comments if you saw it. I've said it on here before, but like the only UFO sighting I ever seen was here in Portland, but it was on 4th of July, so I'm pretty sure it was like a some kind of weird flare, but it was in the air for like 20 minutes and it just kept, drifting and it was
Oh,
very bright, but I thought it was cool. That was my only sighting like that I've ever had. Let's see here. I was gonna mention there's a bunch of this is very UFO heavy here. I was just gonna go through quickly. I just mentioned the hologram plasma thing. Um, have you guys ever heard of Kecksburg, that incident? It
No.
was like a '60s thing in Pennsylvania where a lot of people think it was either like a Russian craft or just a straight up UFO, but it looks like a bell. I'll put a photo up,
oh
and it has
yeah,
like almost like hieroglyphs on the side.
yeah.
Oh.
And they like shut down this whole area for several days until it was gone.
Didn't they believe that it could time travel? Wasn't that?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, basically that's like my conclusion, and a lot of people's conclusion, like I said, is it was either like a Russian thing that was really weird, or it was just a straight up UFO because it looks so strange, like the drawings or whatever of it. And these are some of my favorites, I guess. But that one, and then have you guys ever heard of the Japanese hollow ship? It's called the I hope I'm saying this right, Otsuro Bune.
Can you
No.
describe it a little bit?
This was one I saw in Ancient Aliens a long time ago, but it was it was basically like a UFO watercraft, and this was like, oh my gosh, in the 1700s or something.
Okay.
That a woman was in it, and it just washed up on the beach. But similarly, like to the Kecksburg thing, it had like hieroglyphics on the side and all this stuff, and it's all written in like Japanese legend, I guess you'd say.
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty documented, but it's always fascinating to me because it was like a metal craft, which
Yeah.
obviously wasn't really
Right.
around back then, but at least for boats. But yeah, I don't know. Those are two that I always like think of, and they're like some of my favorites. But what I wrote on here was like, do you guys have? Is there super compelling UFOlogy ones that stick out to you guys, like
Um,
famous cases?
I think anything with cornfields.
All the
All
crop
of
circles and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people have tried to reenact those and everything. Even the farmer who said that it was a hoax and he did it,
Hmm.
when researchers came out to have that same farmer show what he did to do it, it didn't match the crop circles that were in his field because they're all like geometrically perfection.
Hmm.
And so that always stood out to me because I always wonder how they do it, especially with it being cases all over the world and not just specifically one farm. And there was one more recently, not super recent, but more recent than the rest, that gave a DNA strand.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were able to pull. DNA off of
Yeah, for the
something. Yeah.
human makeup DNA. So it was the dots, like to do the hex. Is that what it's called? The hex?
The starts with an H, I know.
Yeah, but the
It
human,
was a signature for human.
right?
Okay.
And then next to it was supposedly a signature for potentially aliens, but when they did it, it came back with radio signals, I guess, that they had to crop together,
Hmm.
but they couldn't figure it
That's
out.
interesting.
They're
Yeah.
trying to figure out the code so that they can communicate.
And for me, I don't know that it would be considered UFO specifically, but it comes from ancient aliens. But when they do episodes on Puma Punku, which
Is that the underwater or which one is that? I'm trying to remember.
so it's in like the desert or dry region of Chile, and there's these big stone structures that have very intricate cuts in them. Like it would have to be done with very advanced laser technology to be able
Okay.
to do that by today's standards. And
I
they've done
think
all
is that
kinds
the
of
one that
tests and
it looks
stuff.
like there's a door cut
Yeah,
into it. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Those are
pretty
that is a good
wild.
one. Yeah.
And then the same stone, they don't find you can't find it for I think like 1,000 or plus miles from where it's located.
Right.
So when you look at just the cuts of the stone and everything, it's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
Those episodes changed my life.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I did have some stuff on here about that. Like, are you guys generally believers of like it seems like as time goes on, more people believe that like in the same vein of Atlantis and stuff, there were all these crazy civilizations that had like better technology than
Yeah.
we thought. Do you guys generally kind of believe that?
I
It
think,
seems really interesting.
yeah, I think so. I think, especially with the pyramids and everything, that we are kind of, well, if you look at technology, I feel like we should be way more advanced than we are.
Hmm.
But we lost all of that information from whatever it was, disasters, what have you. And so there's a high possibility that they could have found out something that could cut rocks like that. Maybe they had help from aliens, who knows? But I do believe. I'm so sorry. I mean, like went off a tangent about because now I'm thinking about the pyramid.
Yeah.
No, no, it's all good. I mean, it's what we're
I
talking
think
about.
there's a lot of lost knowledge, and especially when you look at the burning of the Library of
I was just
Alexandria
gonna
too.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I'm
such a
sure there's so
tragedy
much.
because there was so much in there.
Yeah,
Probably,
and
yeah.
I'd heard, I can't remember what the statistic was, but had the library not burned, we would be like several hundred years technology wise beyond where we are today. So that's
It
thinking
just
about
kind of
that's really
set us
interesting.
back
Yeah.
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
And a lot of the knowledge from these ancient civilizations were lost by colonization and stuff like that. So it's hard to know exactly, scientifically what existed, what they understood. I'm always fascinated by their understanding of just astronomy
Hmm.
and all of that too, with the
Yeah.
Mayan calendar and stuff.
Hmm.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I know in Eastern cultures too, they same thing. Like the stars were just super important. They had all this, I guess, documentation. I don't know if that's the right word, but they were very like focused on
Yeah.
Mhm.
what's going on in the stars, and I thought that was cool. Yeah, all that stuff's really fascinating to me. That's like I don't know if people believe. I'm sure people do, but it's one. I was mentioning giants before. I think some people think giants built the pyramids, which is like it's laughable, but it's also just like it's interesting. I don't know. I'm open to anything. Like it just seems like as more time goes on, like what we've been told about giant structures like that, it's just kind of like really like you expect us to believe that? Like I don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
know. Let's see here. Yeah, I actually had all those. I was going to ask you too about what's your take on the new. Did you see the new underground Egypt stuff? The whole like,
Oh no.
they have this. It's like controversial technology, but they say there's like 2 miles of underground stuff that we haven't even
Oh nice.
detected or like discovered and under the pyramids and stuff.
That was recent?
Yeah, it was like earlier this year, and a lot of the traditional scientists are like throwing shade on it, like this isn't real, but it's interesting. Just the concept of like miles of stuff underneath what we see is fascinating. But
Yeah, it'd be cool to find new stuff in Egypt because so much of, the artifacts and everything were taken out by robbers too.
yeah,
So I'm sure there's a lot
grave
of
robbers and
if
stuff.
there yeah, exactly. If there's tunnel systems that we haven't discovered, I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff from an archaeological standpoint that we could find down there.
Yeah. Let's see here. Talked about Loch Ness. Um, let's talk about. I mean, have you heard anything about have you heard anything about this giant stuff? I should have wrote down mermaids, but you kind of already addressed that because that I felt like that kind of came back again too.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to talk about mermaids, and I
Um,
can talk about giants.
yeah, either
Um,
one. I just think both of them. It's fascinating that they kind of came back and made a resurgence in people's beliefs, and I'm not like making fun of it, but it's just interesting, you know.
yeah. For mermaids, I remember being in the fourth grade and the Discovery Channel doing a whole documentary on it.
Really.
Back when TV was, oh, they're playing it at this time and you can only see it at this time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed up late to watch a whole hour documentary on it. And since then, I've been fascinated with mermaids. I do think that there are possibilities of it, more so just because we haven't discovered lots of the ocean. The ocean is so vast. We are discovering new things in it every day. So maybe it's not the mermaids that we think of where they're humanoid esque, but it could be a mutation from what have you
Mm.
in the ocean that mimic that mermaid that we know of, especially what sailors' tales, where they come back and say that they saw this or that, or the whole boat when they put the mermaid on their boat to then please
Oh, right,
the
right.
gods of the ocean for good travel and good weather and whatnot. So they have all of that, and that's why I do feel that there could be mermaids there. Just like, there could be aliens. That's how I feel about the ocean, is the mermaids are just
Mm.
aliens of the ocean. Uh for Did you have something on mermaids?
No, no, that's amazing. I just love the ocean, the unknown.
Yeah, I really hope Megalodon's real still.
Yeah, I mean that'd be. I love sharks so much. That'd be like the ocean is really interesting. It also like scares the shit out of me because it's so
Yeah.
like especially if you're just in it. Like if I'm in anything deeper than like 4 feet, I'm just like I'm terrified of what's
Yeah.
underneath me and
Yeah.
like what else. Especially if it's a megalodon.
Well, I guess you're good on the shore, you'd see the fin.
Yeah,
So,
but
You know,
even stuff like jellyfish, like they're so weird, but they'll just kill you. Like just
yeah. There's one that redoes its own life cycle too. So,
Oh, it just like self replicates or something.
yeah. So
Yeah.
when it dies, it births itself again.
Oh
It's just
wow.
like a
You can't
self.
even kill it.
Yeah, you
But
can't. You're like, this is why I'm scared of
you
jellyfish.
don't
yeah.
seem scared of anything in the ocean, though. You talk about punching a shark in the eye.
Okay, so Dave was telling me that he was scared of sharks, and I said, well, you're never going to be in the ocean by sharks, so you don't need to be scared of them. And if you are and one approaches you, you just gotta.
That's
I'm
what they
like, if a
say.
shark is
Punch them.
approaching me, I'm not going to think of that. Like, I'm dead.
But I prepared you for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people, maybe, and I think this freaks people out, maybe, but I think it'd be one of the coolest ways to go. Is like
Okay.
you're in the shark's mouth, and you're even if you are punching it, like your half your body's in there. Like, yeah, it's terrifying, but that'd be a cool way to die, right? Like, it would just be so like surreal. You're
Just
like,
the
is this
ocean.
happening?
Yeah.
Like, um, but yeah. What about giants? What's the
For giants, you said that they built the pyramids, right? Well, there
I
was,
think some people believe that, but
yeah.
I think I don't know. I feel I should have researched it more. I feel like there's more just a resurging trend of people who believe that there just were like a population of giants back in the day, and
I,
be, they're just hard to find because like there's no fossils are hard to find,
oh,
and
that's true.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That fossil aspect. There was maybe they're just being re-brought up again because there was that TikToker from Canada who saw a giant every day for a week,
Oh, really?
and then there were cars parked outside of his house and all of this, and then he went missing for a long time
The
after
TikToker or the
the TikToker.
okay.
And some people say it's a conspiracy theory. The TikToker came back and said it was a conspiracy theory, but then weird things were happening around him, I guess,
Hmm.
after that. Maybe the FBI was seeing if it was real. I'm not 100% sure. But there was a giant on top of a mountain in Canada that was there, and you could see that there was a potential of two smaller ones. So it kind of was like a family. And since then, people have seemed to be like, oh, well, giants can be real, this and
Okay,
that.
okay.
And going off the pyramids with the potential of them building pyramids in the Philippines, we have these chocolate hills,
Hmm.
and the story of how those were built was two giants were fighting over the land, and so they were throwing mud back and forth at one another, and they built these two big chocolate hills.
Hmm.
So
And is that just for clarification? Like, it's not. We're not talking about like. This is what I would picture. It's not like Bigfoot side, but like I don't
yeah,
know,
big
30
big.
feet tall or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Like true giants.
Right.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I always love that movie. I think it's called Troll. I love found footage movies.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the one I'm talking about? It's
I
like in
think so.
Sweden, I think, and
Yeah. Where it kind of does it. It's in Swedish too. It's
yeah,
not.
and
Yeah.
they're or Troll Hunter, I think is what it's called, right? I
Yeah.
think,
Something.
yeah. But those are the kind of giants I'm picturing, I guess. Um, what about I had remote viewing on here. That seems kind of applicable to like sort of your abilities, I guess. But
What is
you know,
remote?
that's the whole thing of like, and I believe, I guess people put it in the comment. I believe it's pretty substantiated with science and stuff. And the military was using remote viewing for a while, but it's basically people that can, even though if they're physically here, can place their mind in a different place to like
Oh,
observe, or and that's why the military was trying to tap
yeah.
into it.
Like the hill.
Like astral projection? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's a similar thing. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it's a common it's a common UFO thing too, because I guess people think that like people try to do that to get into like Area 51 and stuff, or like learn the
Oh,
secrets of places
that is
and
fancy.
um yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Um
I like that. We'll have to do more research on that one.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have heard something similar to it. Have you heard of the hill that all these kids are meeting at
Oh,
through their
right.
minds?
No, I haven't heard about that.
It's another podcast. It's something tapes, and they're talking about these kids who can. They all have like special abilities where they can use their head while they go to sleep, or kind of close it off, whether that's wearing a helmet or just closing their eyes. But they all meet at this hill, and they all gather knowledge from the hill.
Hmm.
And then when they come back, they learn how to do things. Like some of the kids learned how to speak 5 different languages from visiting this hill, and it's wild. I'm just like, oh,
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
want to
they
visit
go
this
and
hill.
kind of absorb all the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and
Yeah.
stuff, and wow, huh. That is interesting. I've never heard that. What's your general take on the moon landing? Like I'm you know how you
That's so
stayed
funny.
up to watch that mermaid thing you were talking
Yeah.
about? I did this when I was like 13. Like Fox had a huge, and this is almost like pre-internet, but they had a huge
Yeah.
special on it, and that's what like s-
Yeah.
rattled a lot of cages, and I was like convinced as a teenager. I was like, we didn't go. Like after I saw
Yeah.
that special,
I was convinced at one point that we didn't go, but over the years, I think MythBusters did an episode on that where they proved
there's a lot
that,
of
Yeah,
yeah.
but
yeah,
Mythbusters is on TV, so
that's
it
true.
could work
Conspiracy.
for.
What's funny is I remember in high school, it was like, all these theories going around, and my math teacher said, like, you'll never believe there are people out there that believe that the moon landing was faked. And one kid was like, it was faked. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're one of these people too? And it is just funny.
It's also like I forgot I was gonna say this at the top of the episode, but I always just try to tell people it's like I just think that thinking about stuff like that is healthy. Like whether you believe it or not, it's just healthy for your brain to like think about different
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know in today's culture people just go, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," but it's just I just find it interesting and fun to like entertain those
Mm.
concepts and one of the reasons I love talking about the moon landing is like I'm super into space. I have a NASA jacket in
Oh.
the closet there, but I specifically the Apollo missions, and I really studied that for years. And like you know, according to the official historical record, we've been 6 times with human missions. But I also find some of the other evidence compelling. Like it's just interesting. I guess a lot of people think now that craft landed there, but humans didn't because of all
Oh.
the Van Allen radiation belt and all this other stuff that would like not support humans. And the fact that we haven't gone recently is another interesting
Mm.
thing. But I don't know. It's fascinating. I love learning about the moon and all that stuff.
I like your idea where you find it healthy to think about all these different things, that
Mhm,
it's good for us. Because even though I can have those like abilities, or I do have those abilities or whatnot, I'm still very skeptical, and I always try to debunk it.
mhm.
So last night there was this fly that was going over the nightlight. And so we kept seeing this shadow, and it was like, oh, a
We
shadow.
both
And I
saw
was
it too.
like,
Did you see that? I
yeah.
saw it. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's just a fly. So I don't always think things are spiritual. I
Right.
always try to debunk it, even if it's something that I see that other people. I'm just like, let me debunk it first. Let me figure this out.
Yeah.
And when we go places too, you don't necessarily tell me that you sense something. You'll see if I pick up on something too, so that you don't skew my perception of what was
Yeah,
going on. Like there was that one time, it was at Grand Lodge again, where you felt something and you had me get out the Polaroid camera, took a picture, and we actually captured some
I
pretty
did.
interesting stuff.
There was a
But
shirt
That's
in the
cool.
picture.
You
So,
should all that stuff. if you have like super compelling photo stuff, you just send it to me. And I'll put it. I'll put
Okay.
it in here
Yeah, I
because
can
that
send
is
it.
really cool. Like, I feel like it's rare to capture photos or EVP or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Is
I think
really
it is too. That's why it's amazing to me when like paranormal shows and investigations always catch something. I'm like, how? Like, I
yeah,
can't even catch something when I go, Dave, okay, quick, record.
yeah.
Like,
I'm
because there's
not
something
fast enough.
here.
And do you guys do like? Do people like contract you to do that?
um,
Have you got any of that yet? That'd be cool.
Honestly, I've been so shy. I
Yeah,
know that we're doing this, and I remember when we first started talking, I was just like, I'm really quiet, I'm
yeah,
scared. But I just recently started telling people more openly about it, especially moving to the Portland area where people are more inclusive.
yeah.
Prior to being here, I was living in a different state where they weren't as inclusive of it. They kind of thought I was cuckoo, so I just kept it on the down low. And coming here, a lot more people have been open, and I've been just being more vocal about it. So if there is somebody who needs an investigation, Dave and I do it for free. I'm not gonna
Well, there you
expect
go.
money,
Yeah.
and I'll cleanse it afterwards. And I don't cleanse it with like smoke. So if you're allergic to any of the smoke or anything, I cleanse it like my way.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. No, I was just thinking about it because, like, I don't know. I don't want to say when I first started the show, but at least a year ago, I was thinking about having like a medium or psychic on here. So I was looking at different people locally, and so that's what I was thinking. Like, you know, it could be
Okay.
a bit, not a capitalistic business, but like something you could do for people. Let's see here. I had a couple more. I'll put the photo up here of the. I mentioned you guys earlier the Mars Square thing.
Oh yeah.
Um, this is probably a couple months ago that it came out, and I believe it was a recent aerial space photograph of some kind of orbiting craft they have. But it basically it looked like I was joking. It looked like a I don't know, like a Starbucks or a McDonald's foundation,
Okay.
but it is like a square looking concrete foundation, and it's a pretty good fidelity with the image. And I was like, this is amazing. I posted it on my Instagram story, and people were just like, well, whatever. But I think it was close also to the old face, you know, the old Mars face that was kind
Okay.
of, it's been
Yeah.
kind of debunked now as like a rock or whatever. But it's real close to that, so I'm just like, what's going on here? What's going on Mars? And
There is that conspiracy theory, and I don't know if you're a believer or if you're a believer because I haven't mentioned it to you, but where they say that we started on Mars.
right, right,
We didn't take care of Mars, and then we all had to go to Earth.
escape, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of the plot of Mission to Mars, I think. There's a
Oh.
movie that's almost exactly like that,
Hmm.
but it's cool. I love all those. There's another movie. I wish I could remember the name, but it has Vincent Gallo in it, and I'll put a poster of it or something. But it's really cool. They find like actual like hieroglyphics and stuff on Mars.
Oh.
I'm kind of spoiling it for people, but I love all that stuff. I was just learning this week that I guess there's people that think that there's stuff like that in the Grand Canyon. Do you know that?
Oh,
Ooh.
really?
That there's like off limits areas of the Grand Canyon, and people think it's because there's
Okay.
hidden chambers with like weird language and stuff in there, which is a cool idea. I don't know how true that is, but I've also never been to the Grand Canyon. I want to go.
Yeah, neither have we.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't.
I
Have you?
haven't, no.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other paranormal stuff you guys want to talk about before I get into my goofy questions here?
Uh, There's nothing that I can particularly think about that, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, nothing comes out of
Nothing
comes to
comes to
mind.
mind.
Okay. Is there any cool episodes coming up that you want to
We'll do a
promote
part
and talk about?
two
Yeah, we're
of
doing a part
the
two
night
of my
shift.
night shift. My favorite episode from our podcast is so we had this ghost cat in our apartment, right?
Okay.
And I have my cat, and I initially thought it was my cat, but then we both kind of started to see it, and little things would happen. The blinds would come up, like up, as if my cat was going behind it and pushing it forward.
What is that? Because I have a memory of when I was a kid of that happening.
Oh, really?
And I don't I just
Oh.
I was chalk it up as like I was like 7 years old and it was the wind or something. But I remember blinds like this literally almost like a ghost
Yeah.
pulled it and it was like a J shape.
Yeah,
And I have that memory stuck in my head of like, what the fuck was that? But is that kind of what you're talking about? Like
yeah, like that. But instead of pulling it up,
it would
it
be
was
like a
as if
cat
it
was
walked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that happened, and I was telling Dave that it's probably getting more vocal because Dave can't see it like I can. I'm like, I see it. It's a white cat.
Mm-hmm.
And this one time we were recording talking about it. We're just like, oh, we have this ghost cat in our apartment. Here are some of the things that have been happening. And daring, it must have got on the shelf, and there was a bag that was in the middle of the shelf. It wasn't on the edge where it would have fallen. My cat wasn't up there because he was in plain sight to me. And it got patted off like a cat was going like this, trying to pat it
Hmm.
off the shelf. And
Fell
we
off the
got
shelf.
it. I
Yeah.
was just like, oh, I wish we would have been recording because then you could have seen in the background what was happening for it to fall off the shelf. All you got in the audio is simply audio. You just hear it falling.
Hmm.
But that's still my favorite episode that it wanted to appear just like my cat does all the time. He'll come up, meow in the mic for a little bit. But
It just wants attention like any other cat.
exactly.
That's
So,
funny though. Okay, yeah, check out that episode for sure. I remember the other thing I was gonna talk about was if you have any interesting Ouija stories. I have a literally a glow in the dark Ouija board sitting over there, and
I
Sorry.
see it.
do you want to say it's over there? Yeah. It's like in the corner in a box, but
Oh, okay.
I've had it for years, and it was back when I had like 8 roommates, and it was kind of ours, and I got stuck with it. But I did like, as a lot of young people, I messed with it. We used to go to graveyards and
You
stuff,
went
and
to graveyards with it?
do not that specific one. I think it was a different one, but for year like my stupid story with that is like we'd have stuff happening with it, and it would always go to queue, and I found out later that was my friend Jack just messing with us. But I do think there's been other times where it was like there's been some movement and stuff that was like legit, and I've always found them interesting. I know you guys. I think you guys did an episode on them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I found them interesting too. I didn't really dabble with them until I was about 19, and my friends had had them. And she was like, "Oh, Julie, do you want to try? Because you can see spirits. You can let us know if like something's here." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So when we were there, we were playing with the Ouija board, and in doing so, I had came to the conclusion that if a spirit's around, whoever is the person, not like the weakest, but whichever one's more open,
Mhm.
will move the hands because there was four of us. The one that was asking questions that she had never told me about, and her and I weren't super close compared to the other girls. And I was answering them before they could get it on the board, and I said, she's standing behind you. That's why I can hear her saying them. And it would be, oh, what happened to my house that uh and I would say, oh, it started on fire. And she was like, oh, well, do we still live there? And I said, yes. And then she said, what happened to me and my stepmom? And I said, oh, you threw a towel at her. And she was just like, how are you saying all of these things? How do you know all these things? And I was telling her it's the person behind you, but it was going through the board. She was standing behind her, and it was channeling through her onto the board. So before the letters could be spelled out, I was able to reiterate it to her. It was really an
Hmm.
interesting experience.
Hmm.
So then ever since then, anytime anybody wants to use a Ouija board, I'm always on board for it because I just want to see if they come to that person. Because in my experience, it hasn't been a joint conversation where this person moves it or that person moves it. It seems to attach to one individual
Hmm.
and then moves it to answer the questions that that person's
It's kind of
asking.
the best vessel or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
It is
term for
interesting.
it.
I've always just found them fascinating, and I know people make their own and stuff. I've always found that interesting. If like, because I don't remember if it's Milton Bradley, whoever kind of bought it as a
Right.
Hmm.
property, but it's just interesting that like that it's like a board game technically, but it's also like a. I think people have used it for like hundreds of years, right? Like
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all started around what war was it?
Well, it became popular after or during World War II. I mean, they existed before that, but when people during that time were losing loved ones overseas, it gained popularity where people were trying to communicate with their loved ones.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I never knew that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Let me get into some of these outro things. I should have tied this joke in with my with the Mars Foundation thing, but I'm just excited about this because I love fast food. But did you guys see? I'm guessing that you might know Jollibee. Am I saying that right?
I'm so
Jolly
Did you see
Bee.
that
excited.
opening? Yeah. Have you guys been yet?
Well, I mean, I've been in the Philippines, and then when I moved to Oregon, and there's one in the Seattle area. I was just like, I
Okay.
have to
Yeah.
take you.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it's the most happiest I've ever seen you. And I was
Yeah.
like, it tastes the same. And I was like doing my little food dance. So when they were opening one, they've been trying to open it for over a year now.
Yeah.
And every day I'm like, when are they opening? When are
We
they
keep
opening?
looking online
Keep
at any
counting
updates,
down.
and it opened on Friday, so
Yeah.
we're excited.
I know, but it's been so busy because people were waiting
Yeah, people said
outside
they waited
since
overnight.
2:30. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this is how great Jollibee is. And if anybody comes for the spaghetti, I just want you to
That's what I was
know
just gonna say. I've always wanted to try it.
it's so good.
Okay.
But it's Philippine spaghetti.
It's a
So
little
don't go
different.
in thinking that it's Italian spaghetti. And I think that's where people kind of make it bad for themselves
Sure.
because then they insult it. Like we put hot dogs in everything. We put hot dogs in eggs. Like it's
Mm.
fine that there's a hot dog in it. Just calm down. I hope this doesn't start like an internet war for you.
No, it's fine. That's like the spaghetti is always what drawn me to it, and just the variety of stuff they have on the menu. And so, like, even before I knew this one was opening here, I was just like telling people, like, "Have you guys heard of this place? Like, I want one of these here." And so,
Ah, so good. You
but
need the spicy chicken joy.
yeah, I know the chicken's like the main thing, right? People
Yeah.
go to get that. But maybe that's what was on Mars. That was my joke. Yeah, I'm glad I figured, I don't know, everyone's excited for it, and I want to go check it out.
Yes, I love Jollibee.
Let's see here. Do you guys have a favorite fast food? Are you healthy eaters generally, or?
Taco
Oh, we're
Bell.
terrible
Taco Bell?
eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Taco Bell. It's one of my favorite.
What do you
I-
get from Taco Bell? What's your lineup?
Oh man, I could do a whole episode on.
Do we need to
I
come
used to
back?
like
Yeah.
the double decker taco, which is now called the double stacker or something.
Okay.
That's kind of like my go-to taco. I like the Doritos taco as well.
Yeah, those are
There's a lot of
solid.
good stuff. I like the crunch wrap,
Oh, that's
um,
staple.
Mexican pizza. There's a lot of good stuff that they have. What about you? You guys have favorite stuff from there?
You have
I
your
mean,
line.
Crunchwrap Supreme. I love Chalupa. Crunchy tacos. You got to get a couple of those. But the bean burrito is the
Classic bean and
best.
cheese.
Yeah, bean and cheese is the best leftover item. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna throw it in, yeah, it'll be the last thing that you eat, because if you can't eat it all, you know that it's gonna be
It
even
does
better
keep,
the
yeah.
next day. Yeah.
A lot of times I'll get my normal order, and then I'll get 4 of those because I know I
Yeah.
can just eat them for lunch or
I
whatever.
remember when they were like 25 cents too.
Yeah.
Mine is Janky. It's in Portland. It's a Japanese restaurant. We don't
Okay.
go there often, but that would be my favorite place.
Wait, fast food.
Oh, I thought he said you
Oh,
eat
that's
healthy.
fine.
That's
I
the
mean-
furthest thing I could think of from
Okay,
fast food.
well, fast food, I would have to say Jollibee or A&W.
Oh,
Okay,
A&W
A&W
is
is pretty good.
underrated. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true. I've never heard anyone say A&W. That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's so
Um,
solid.
We've been going
though.
there more recently because
Yeah.
I remember as a kid there were booths that you sit down and order from a phone.
Oh, they had that here too?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was only like a
Like a Midwestern
like
thing.
like on a they had like a corded phone or something.
Mhm,
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, that's cool. Let's see here. What's your favorite type of French fry? Do you like crinkle cut, regular cut, curly fries, waffle
Mm,
fries?
Waffle fries. I like waffle fries a
Waffle,
lot.
okay.
I like the pub fry, like the waffle fries, but with cheese and bacon.
Okay.
Yes.
The whole deal. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Let's say you're getting ice cream somewhere at Salt and Straw or somewhere like that. Do you go waffle cone, regular cone, cup?
I usually go cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waffle cone.
Okay.
Especially if it's
You guys are
dipped.
kind of
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want the ice cream. I don't want anything to clash with it.
Okay.
I like the contrasting flavors between a good waffle cone.
That's true. It is a good argument because I
Yeah.
usually, I almost always go cup, and I say for the cleanliness, but it's like you're kind of losing complementary flavor
Yeah. Eating from a cone,
combination.
I mean, it makes sense for you because you eat slow. I eat really fast. And the waffle cone, it adds this layer of stress where it starts melting and you don't want it to get over your hands. So you
Right.
got to eat it really
Dripping,
fast.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you guys like country or smooth peanut butter? Or maybe you don't like peanut butter.
I like smooth peanut butter.
Okay.
Yes.
It depends on what I'm
Oh
eating
my
it on.
gosh.
If I'm spreading it on something, I'll go I'll go smooth, because if it has stuff in it, it like tears the bread. But if I'm just eating a
It
spoonful
does,
of
yeah.
it, I want the crunchy.
Okay. I like that. Let's see. I used to do both of these. I guess we can try both of these rankings. I used to do. I haven't done this in a while. I want to know your nut rankings.
My nut
So
rankings. Okay.
I'm trying to remember mine now. So I think I went to what's it called? Pistachios number one, and then I think it's either peanut or I'm trying to remember my second and third. I can't remember. Let's just say pistachio, peanut, cashew.
Mm.
Some people say cashew's not a nut, but I don't.
Really? People say that? Why is it not a nut?
It's like because it comes from a cashew fruit, I think,
Oh, I didn't
which
know that.
technically isn't a nut. I don't know. I don't know the rules, but
So
some
just
people say it's not. I don't know.
okay. So
But do
just
you?
between those
The top
three?
No,
three.
I mean just it could be any.
Oh, okay. Do you want to
You don't
go?
have to do as many as you
Yeah,
want to
I would
list.
say number one probably pistachio. Also, number two, I'm gonna go almond, but like I really like the flavored almonds. Like we got what was
Yeah.
the garlic and
Oh yeah,
parmesan ones?
garlic
That's
farm.
so
That's
Smoked
good.
or
good.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, or
smokehouse.
spicy. And then three probably peanut. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What about you?
I like pecans.
Pecans are so weird though. That's what
Are they? They
that's
look
why
so
I started. That's why I
cute.
started doing this is because I was like, who likes pecans like outside of a pie? I don't even like pecan pie that much. But some people like really like pecans, so
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. I'm some weird being, I guess.
they're probably the most healthy too. I don't know. Maybe they
Yeah,
are.
I don't know. I think almonds are. I think almonds have like health
Almonds.
and fatty
Yeah, I forgot about almonds. I
omegas.
didn't think
Yeah.
about
Mm.
those.
But pecans, and then I would do macadamia nuts. I like those,
Those are good.
especially
Fancy.
in chocolate. That's not it's just a nut. Cashews. I like cashews. I
Okay.
qualify as a nut, and then I would say almonds. Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. I also do those with cheese. If you guys
Yes, let's do
you want to do
cheese.
cheese,
Wow.
okay. And I just always qualify. Mine are super boring. I go Munster, provolone, Colby Jack,
Mm.
mozzarella,
Okay.
but they're just staples, and I love eating them. So
Okay.
not fancy, but those are mine. So I don't know.
Are they from Tillamook because of Oregon?
I love Tillamook. Yeah. You
You
know,
have
it's
to.
funny. I
Yeah.
still haven't been to the new cheese factory, like before they remodeled it.
Oh, okay. When did they remodel it?
I mean, this was probably
Yeah, you went to the remodeled one.
Oh,
six
okay.
years ago or something. Yeah, it was a while back now,
They have free cheese.
but yeah, the tours are great. You get free cheese, yeah, and all that stuff.
What's your cheeses?
My favorite cheeses, pepper jack is going to be number one. I
Pepper
love the
jack's good.
spiciness.
Yeah.
Number two, probably blue cheese. And then number three, that's tough. I really like that Merlot cheese that you showed me.
I'm sorry that's not number one.
Yeah.
Merlot, like the
Well,
wine.
I'm gonna
Yeah, like the
go.
wine.
Okay, you know what? I will put that as my number one, like best cheese flavor I've had. But pepper jack is all around my favorite. You can put it on anything. I wouldn't put the Merlot cheese on a sandwich
You
necessarily, but
could.
you could.
Uh,
That's a versatile cheese.
Yeah.
Merlot's my first. The Merlot cheese. Wisconsin fondue. It's this brick that you cut and then you cook it, or you can cook the whole stack, whatever. No, sorry, it's Wisconsin grilled cheese. And then lots of cheeses I can't pronounce. They all have weird dots over the letters. I'm not sure, but they're
Oh,
usually
I see what you mean. Yeah, like the umlauts or whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they're usually very aged. So I
Okay.
really like 10-year cheddar. That's really good because the little balls that are crunchy in
Okay.
it, the crystallized from aging, are really good. So
All
the
right.
older the cheese, the better.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Um, it's funny because I always usually put aliens, Bigfoot, and ghosts in here, but that's like what we've been talking about the whole time. Um, yeah, I was give people a chance to shout out restaurants. You did one already, the Japanese one, but is there
Yeah.
any? It could also be a business. I was just
Oh.
want to have people shout out like a local
Oh, I would love to shout out some
thing.
local places.
Yeah.
So the Peculiarium,
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, Mike, I got you guys. And then the Skeleton Key is really good. Memento Mori,
It's the bar, right? Or it's like a
the
cafe.
yeah,
Cafe,
it's a
yeah.
Yeah.
cafe. Very good coffee.
And that
Sinis
just opened what 6 months ago or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
they opened in October of last year.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Sinister Coffee and Creamery. Those people are amazing. They have these cute little skull ice creams to make like an affogato.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was really cool because you like drown the skull. Uh, he's like, Dave, do you need help? Just let me know. Uh, them And then there's other.
I'll give a shout out to one from my hometown of Lebanon, Oregon. Dark
Oh,
Bloom
really?
Oh,
Coffee is
yes, Dark
incredible. So
Bloom.
Dark
cool.
Blue, is that what it's called?
Dark Bloom.
Bloom.
Bloom, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, they're amazing.
I didn't know you were from there. That's funny. I've been there a couple times, but I went once to when I was working at this agency to make there's like a gigantic manufactured Christmas tree place out there
Okay.
that's just like in a warehouse. But it was like the weirdest thing. I went to Lebanon for a day and filmed, or a couple days and filmed in. But I like the town. It's a really cool town. I don't know. It's tiny, but
I don't know if it's cool, but yeah.
Yeah.
I like. It feels like a time capsule.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other one was in Portland. There's an insectarium.
Okay.
So if you're
All
into
sorts of insects?
yeah,
That's
they
cool.
have insects, arachnids, and you can hold all of them. Dave gets a little squeamish, so I hold them.
Is that it's not related to the like what are they called? The bug girls? You know what I'm talking about? There was
Oh.
like I guess you'd call them influencers. There's like a
Oh, there's
couple
influencers.
women who were like that was their thing was like the bug girls. I can't remember.
In Portland?
But I was wondering if that was like their museum or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Do you know their names?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I can't even remember if they're local. They might be, but that's cool though. Where's that at? I've never been there.
That is that southeast?
It's like Northeast Portland, I'm pretty
Northeast?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Insectarium. Okay.
It's on our Instagram. If you go to our Instagram and just hit our highlight for our
The
support
Sunday
highlight.
thing.
Yeah, and then if you click through it, it has all the pictures, and then you can get to their through there. Because I think they might just be Insectarium PDX is their at,
Okay.
but our at's Grim Grotto _
For sure. Yeah. Okay, I do have one little last thing I was going to give you guys. And
Okay.
I've been doing these Prices Right things. This one wasn't that cheap.
Oh.
And if you don't like these, it's fine too. I just thought it was appropriate because it's a
Oh,
ghost.
that's so
and
cute.
That's
I love that.
Slimer. Actually, Slimer's looking crazy on there. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that's so cool.
you can have those if you want. If you want to guess how much I paid, like I said, normally I try to get stuff under $1, and this was a little more money. But
Okay.
my whole
Thank
thing
you.
is I go to grocery outlet and try to find like cheap stuff, and then have people guess
That's
the
so
price.
cute. Okay, sure, we can guess it.
You want to guess? Yeah.
Do we get 2 guesses?
As many as yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
usually do
Price is
3,
Right.
but
I guess $5.
I'm gonna say, because it's Ghostbusters, I'm gonna say $6.75.
okay, it's way less. It's way less than that. It's less than. I'll say less than $3.
Oh,
Be that close.
$2.75.
No, it's still less.
$1.99.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys like Ghostbusters? I don't know. I'm actually not like a huge Ghostbusters fan,
Not
but
really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think it's a little overhyped sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't part of just the movies that I watched growing up, so I'm not like super into it, but I do appreciate it. Like I appreciate the Marshmallow Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right,
like
yeah.
he makes me laugh.
Yeah, there's some good parts, I guess. Well, cool guys. Yeah, thanks for coming. You're always welcome back. We'll have to do another episode. I hope you guys go on keep going on ghost adventures. That's really cool.
I know, we should come back with some ghost stories.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so
absolutely.
much for hosting.
For sure.